Hello, and welcome back to Miss M's Critical Thinking and Analysis class at Fremont College. Today we're going over Chapter 8, which is viewpoints. And the book has a very excellent example and definition of viewpoints. What's the filter? That's how it starts out. But a viewpoint can be a point of view, and you may have seen the expression POV, point of view, an attitude, a bias, a perspective, a frame of reference, or an opinion. All those go to shape our points of view, our viewpoint, how we view the world, how we view a situation, how we view a person. There are different types of viewpoints, as you would imagine. We can have maybe a religious viewpoint. We can have a viewpoint related to our occupation. We can have a viewpoint related to our nationality, our citizenship. There's a number of viewpoints that we have when we carry around in life. Viewpoints in literature, that may be the one that we're most familiar with when we're young and we're reading some of the classic books, To Kill a Mockingbird and so forth. Every author that creates a work of literature has a point of view, a POV. And it can be the third person. So when you see something that said he said, they said, she said, that's third person point of view. It can be a first person, I, me, my, okay, or it could be second person point of view, you. So you'll see the you point of view a lot in any kind of advice book or self-help, that kind of a book, that kind of literature, you, because they're offering you advice. But those are all different points of view, and we all have them. Some of them can be unconscious points of view that we're not really aware of on a conscious level, and we'll talk more about that when we talk about politics. Or some of them can be conscious. Usually consciously we know what our point of view is. We know how we feel about a certain situation, our biases, and so forth. Now, in terms of recognizing points of view, it's easiest to recognize our points of view when we're talking about politics. Okay, politics, as you know, is a wide spectrum, but typically politics, the points of view of politics is you are either on the left, on moderate, or on the right. And so we have to understand what those terms mean. If you're on the left, left tends to be associated with being liberal. Right tends to be associated with being conservative. I'm talking politically now. A moderate is someone that is just in the middle of right and left politically. A moderate. They can go right sometimes, they can go left sometimes. You may hear the expression right of center. That means that person may be a little bit more conservative, but he's really a moderate. Or left of center, that person can be a little bit more liberal, but they're really moderate people. They don't associate or identify strongly with left or right. So you'll see that a lot in politics. You have to be either left or right, and that will determine the policies that are made, how you feel about certain things, how we feel as a country about certain things, conservative or liberal. The book does a very good job of breaking down these points of view on page 224 and 225. Also, hidden points of view. The book describes, which, again, this is my world in terms of news and media and news delivery and how we get our news. The book says, and I totally agree, it's important that we understand the point of view of the deliverer of the news. What do I mean when I say that? Well, I'm going to use cable TV as an example. Cable TV has hundreds of channels, as we know. Many of them have a political bent. So it's important that we know what the bent is and what the bias may be of the person that's presenting the programs. As an example, when we hear or see or watch Fox News, we think of a more right of center point of view. Fox is owned by Rupert Murdoch, as some of you may know. He's very wealthy media magnate, tends to be on the conservative side. So his programs on Fox and other places tend to have a conservative point of view. So if you're watching something on Fox, are you getting the full picture? You're not getting the entire picture. You're getting the conservative or right of center point of view. A liberal-leaning, that I would call liberal-leaning news program on cable, I would say would be something like MSNBC, possibly CNN. They're more liberal. How do you know that they're liberal in their news delivery? Because they tend to take the liberal point of view on different matters, be it the war, be it the economy. They take the liberal point of view. And the challenge for you is to figure out which point of view that you most agree with. They're both equally right. They both have good points, but you have to decide for yourself which one that you really believe in. How do news people shape the way that we receive their point of view? One way is through headlines, and headlines can be in the print version of our news delivery or on TV. A headline is something that we hear right away when they're describing a story. When they say film at 8, that's what they're saying to us as a headline, to grab our attention, to be sensationalized, to exaggerate, to make their point of view to us irresistible. It's it sounds more benign than what it really is, because as you can imagine, if you have the power of the media, you can shape points of view according to what your viewpoint is. To use Rupert Murdoch again, he owns not only Fox News, but he owns a whole number of magazines and newspapers and TV stations and radio stations, so that he's able to put his conservative point of view out there. Not him particularly, but the people that he hires, the guest hosts, the guests that he has on the different shows. It's all to shape a point of view. It's not done at random. They spend lots of time and energy figuring out the best people to have, both liberal and conservative. There's nothing wrong with it. It's just that we as news consumers, we have to be aware of what I call the spin. It's spin. It's an emphasis that that news people put on so that we can more readily accept their point of view. So what I suggest and recommend to all of us to do is to read more than one source, so that we can get more than one source of information and more than one point of view. And read the opposite points of view too. As critical thinkers, you may have a liberal bent, and that's fine, but it's always good and important to read what the opposite or opposing side is saying as well. Okay, for the E topic this time, now this is a really good subject and it's hot and it's in the news right now. It's about President Obama's health care plan. Now, it seems very big and unwieldy, a health care plan, but just remember these few things. For the past generation or so, we've kind of had the same delivery of health care, forever. It's been delivered to us the same way. Many of us have Kaiser, many of us have private doctors. What President Obama is proposing, it's not set in stone, there's no bills that have been passed. He's simply proposing that the government, the U.S., the federal government, take a role in this, and that he would like to see the U.S. government provide health care for people who don't have it, who can't afford it, who maybe left a job and they had to leave their health care behind or it's too expensive. It's just a proposal. Now, there's been a lot of stuff said in the news about, town halls and people getting angry and shout downs and things, but that's all, again, going back to how the news is framed, it's how the news is framing the issue. The news right now is framing the issue that there's a lot of contention, when really I believe there's a lot of confusion. I don't think many of us, I know I don't, really understand the details. So for the E-Cafe, we're going to have a video of President Obama giving a summary of his plan. But in order to really understand what he's saying, because some of the terminology is, it's kind of like, okay. So you need to do a little bit of research on your own, and the easiest way is just to type in Google President Obama's healthcare plan or government option or something like that, and then you can come up with different definitions. But what you'll find is the links will lead you to either the conservative point of view that we talked about or the liberal point of view. So read both, get a good feel for what the issues are, and then start discussing. And I'm really interested to see what you have to say, because I think you all have probably better answers than the politicians do. So make sure that you have a good grasp of, we're calling it Obama's healthcare plan, but there's actually no plan per se right now. It's just a proposal. The assignment for this chapter on page 229 is a survey of some alternative viewpoints. I talked about liberal and conservative, but on 229 you're going to do the assignment there. Pick 2 alternative viewpoints, and you're going to write about them. Follow the instructions, questions 1 through 8, and you'll know exactly what you have to do for this assignment. But it'll be a lot of fun. You'll learn a lot about how we're kind of manipulated in terms of news coverage. And I'll see you again next time. I'll see you for Chapter 9. Thanks. Bye.